Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it, Hail Varsity Road Show on Friday, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal. We've had an audible. That happens at the line of scrimmage. We love being at the single barrel inside the graduate. Captain Khakis and company have rented the whole thing out. So we are outdoors in the beautiful sunshine in the Railyard, getting you primed up ahead of Nebraska and Michigan. Numbers to get in: 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Going to be crawling around and all hopped up tonight into tomorrow as you pace yourself and make your way to 10th and Vine. You can watch us and find us on the StreamYard ESPN Lincoln's Facebook page. We're here till 6. Come on by, get a cold one, enjoy, and mark out your spot for the mother of all tailgate parties tomorrow with your friends at 96 Kicks. Elijah Herbal back in our studios. Brother, you got we said this week it's Team Khaki versus Team Camo. And you, my friend, are wearing your camo. I've got my Hunter Orange on because it's big game hunting time for Nebraska with number 9 and opportunity knocking.
We're on the same page here, and it's one of those things that you can't get unless you're checking us out in the live stream on ESPN Lincoln. The camo.
Because we're so appealing.
And the Hunter's. Hey, now. Speak for yourself. Yeah. But we got the camo and the Hunter Orange rocking. I'm with you. It's big game hunting time. Go make a statement. Go get that trophy to go put on the wall. Number 9 Michigan at home. It's time to go get a trophy, even though it's not a bowl game trophy. That'd be much better. This is still a trophy of sorts, being able to go knock off Michigan. I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow.
It is a trophy game, even though it's technically not. I mean, it is a perception, a statement, and a mile marker. And listen, this isn't 97 Michigan. This isn't even 2015, 2016 Michigan, more the 16 version that was so right there for that Ohio State win. And I think they were number 3 or 4 in the country heading into that Ohio State game. But what you have here for Nebraska is a chance to just keep the good vibes going and show that, that progress is real. And we've seen it. You've felt it as a Nebraska fan that progress is very real because of how this team has dug deep and how this team has bounced back despite some disappointment. They've continued to get better. They've self-assessed. They've made corrections. They're not jacking around anymore, and they could play well enough to win and still fall short tomorrow night. They could come out and just own it and hit on all cylinders. So there's a lot of different ways this thing can go. Coming up, we will talk with Husker Hall of Famer Eric Warfield, longtime member of the Kansas City Chiefs, part of that 97 national championship team. We'll get Warfield's take on the big game. Jay Moore is going to be with us as well, Blackshirt Husker NFLer. Jay, of course, with Big Red Wrap-Up, get a defensive perspective. So a little bit of a Blackshirt Friday vibe for you in hour 1. Bill Doleman is back in the wonderful state of Nebraska. He is at a Hall of Fame ceremony for his high school coach. He will be with us tomorrow at the Gary Michaels tailgate, and excited to have Bill with us there. The Pride of Fairbury will be in to give us his predictions at 5, and then our sit down with Husker I-back Rahmir Johnson. Rahmir, kind enough to give us a few minutes. He's been running really hard, really physical for the Big Red. A nice 1-2 punch tomorrow night against Michigan. And then Clauseborne is in with the Friday forecast. Can find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbal. Can email Chris at HailVarsity.com. So there's a couple of X factors I want to get into beyond Adrian, beyond experience versus youth on the offensive versus defensive line of scrimmage. The two X factors that are going to be very real are quite honestly out of the players' hands tomorrow night. One is the atmosphere and crowd, Memorial Stadium. Two is the coaching acumen, right? What do we unfortunately have to point out factually with Nebraska in one-score games? And you hate being that guy that always brings it up, but it is a stat. It's beyond a trend. It's something that absolutely can get reversed. And it's fair to say in the Frost tenure, from a talent standpoint, some of these one-score games, he's had more talent, and Nebraska's failed to close. And in some other instances, he's been out-talented, and he's kept it close, and he's been right there. So there's been both sides of the ledger here for Nebraska with Scott Frost going into this fourth year with one-score games. And that's how you live and die in the Big Ten. Some years you'll have an Iowa team have a magic season. They get to a conference championship game. You look back and say, oh, my God, they were so clutch in one-score games. It's not never ending. A year later, you can be 8-5 and look at a win-loss sheet, a schedule, and see, if Penn State's down, if Ohio State's regrouping, which never happens, but it's still the one-score game deal. I mean, that's how life is lived in the Big Ten. I look at the way Nebraska has gone about their business here since Illinois. When you heard, well, we had to throw half the playbook out, or, they threw some things we weren't ready for. You've not had Nebraska go to that sense. Now, they haven't won every game, but there wasn't an excuse post-Michigan State. There was not an excuse post-Oklahoma, Elijah. What you had is just, all right, you were right there and you just didn't get it done. It was a far cry narrative-wise from what you heard from Illinois. And Harbaugh's a really good coach. Harbaugh's got a really good staff, but it's a new staff around him. He's kind of gone old school and went back to a lot of Michigan, either players or greats. And they are on staff now. You've got Old McDonald as the defensive coordinator now, a guy from the Baltimore Ravens that knows how to just really muck up a lot of things with opposing offenses. And then I look at Nebraska's staff, right? Where's your experience in Power 5? Where's your experience in big games? Well, they've had 3.5 years of learning on the job. I think that's really key tomorrow night. Is Nebraska going to see something and not adjust in time to something Michigan may throw at them? The coaching matchup is very real tomorrow night. What I am confident in, and I haven't said this ever or for a long time, at least thought it, I think Nebraska and Coach Frost, from an ego standpoint of, all right, there's been some losses to Purdue. There's been some peculiar play calls. There's been some, why are you doing that? Like overthinking and outthinking, right? And we go back to even 2 weeks ago, Michigan State, where you're throwing the ball on 3rd and 3 instead of running it. There's been some tough lessons learned this year with things that didn't go your way. Can you settle in? Can you be confident? And can you truly have no fear of failure? I get a better vibe even 2 weeks later from Michigan State now, from Coach Frost and his staff, than I had leaving East Lansing, than I had leaving Champaign. So is Scott Frost a better coach than Jim Harbaugh? He's going to have to be. That's one of the boxes you need checked if you're Nebraska. But I don't worry about Scott having to look like or be the smartest guy in the room, okay? And that's not always been the case. It's cost him against Purdue a couple of times. It's cost him in some overthinking moments even 2 weeks ago. And look, I call it overthinking. You can call it execution, okay, or lack thereof. But I think Nebraska will really drill down, have a sound plan, go after it and execute. And I wouldn't be surprised if Nebraska this week, they've leaned on some of the veteran coaches around in the area or people on staff. I mean, Ron Brown's, there's nothing he hasn't seen in football. Coach Osborne's a FaceTime away. Not that you need to do that, but I'm saying the option's there. And that's going to be one of your non-player X factors, Elijah. The other is going to be a Memorial Stadium. It's going to be 90,000. It's going to be a gorgeous October night. It's going to be packed to the gills, elbow to elbow, wanting to will this team to victory and be a part of the ride. And it was funny. Andy's in town from Arkansas, diehard Husker fan. He is. The quote is, You know, I've been waiting a long time for us not to suck, as we were talking before the show started, and it made me smile. And I'm like, Andy, you're right. He just said the phrase, the money quote that so many Nebraska fans have been feeling or thinking. I just don't want us to suck, man, on TV, right? Go toe to toe with somebody on TV, and you just did. You just did with Michigan State. You did with Oklahoma. Time to deliver tomorrow night. I think Nebraska can, but think about you as a fan. Think about you as a Nebraska football fan that grew up going with your family, or think about you as a student, or just whatever experience. Maybe you're out of town and you're coming in. You hit one a season, and maybe that desire because of heartache has been waning. Well, you're back for Nebraska-Michigan, and the seriousness of the moment is real, and you feel good about your team. You're confident in your football team. You think you can go get this done, or at least play well enough to win and not be disappointed with the effort. And if you go down to a better team, Nebraska fans have always begrudgingly accepted that. It's more so about how you play versus are you winning all the time. The undefeated seasons, the championships have been a byproduct of being so well oiled in a better program from start to finish when it comes to development, talent, and all that. But you have a pressure shift. And the Nebraska crowd, the Sea of Red, the Husker Army, are going to be all over that pressure shift. For the longest time this season and building up, it's been about Scott Frost has got to do this, this, and this to get Nebraska football back. And every time there's a loss or a misstep, it's crucifixion time. It's Nebraska and Scott the right guy. I mean, that's it. That's kind of gone away because of you've seen the team improve. They've gotten better. Now it shifts. And Schick talked about it a little bit this week. Things have kind of gotten quiet in a good way for Harbaugh. Well, all of that ramps back up, man. If same old Harbaugh, same old Michigan can't even go beat a 3-3 Nebraska team. Just, in some interactions with Michigan people this week, they realize that Nebraska is a much better team than 3-3. So they are rightfully fearful of getting out alive tomorrow night. But those are two factors, man. Elijah, just your reaction to some of that. The coaching matchup, is it a possibility Nebraska gets out-coached? There's your difference. Yes, I think Nebraska's in a better spot because of some tough lumps through this season to be able to withstand that tomorrow night. The other side of it is the 12th man, the Sea of Red, Nebraska fans. You've been waiting 2 decades for this moment. Really, you've had big games, but your moment for a program statement win, I think you got to go back to the 0-1 Oklahoma game.
Yeah, and the thing is with this team this year is you look at Michigan coming to town, and it's pretty realistic to say if Nebraska just shows up tomorrow night and they all do their jobs, the starters do their jobs, the coaching staff does their jobs, there's a great possibility Nebraska's going to be in this game late. If all you have to do is go do your job and then hope by the end, the fourth quarter, the fans can carry you to a victory. That's the way I see this game, and it's getting back to that famous pregame prayer that you hear so much is day by day, this team has been getting better and better. If they should lose tomorrow night, all you have to do is go do your job, put up a respectable performance, and I think we as Husker fans will cheer as the winner goes by. That's how it goes, but it comes down to coming out and executing, doing your job, and then letting the energy of that crowd carry you into the fourth quarter, hopefully to a Husker win.
We're here in the Railyard Roadshow Friday, Hail Varsity Radio. Now we're back at the single barrel for Home Football Fridays. That has been taken over by Michigan. That said, we are excited to be outdoors, and it's a gorgeous Friday night. You're invited down to the Railyard. You're invited down to the single barrel, the bourbon single barrel down here. Get a cold one, get a picnic table, and maybe we'll throw a little playoff baseball on. That's always a possibility. We're going to check in with Eric Warfield, Husker Hall of Famer, champion Nebraska safety. Coming up in about 5 minutes, Jay Moore, a black shirt, hour one for you, a black shirt Friday, Warfield and Jay Moore. Doleman next hour, Husker I-back, Rahmir Johnson. Back to the pressure topic, and you nailed it with the team prayer. Nebraska has an opportunity similar to Oklahoma where, there is pressure. You want to deliver for the home crowd. You want to get a statement win. You want to get to 500 in Big Ten play. There's all these things. But really, I mean, this is about Harbaugh and their team being number 9. This is about Harbaugh and Michigan maybe having their own breakthrough season, right? I mean, Ohio State's gotten a lot better, but they look mortal, okay? And right now you've got a juicy race in the Big Ten. You've got Iowa and Penn State going on tomorrow as they lead into Nebraska and Michigan. That's going to be a dogfight. You've still got some very vicious round robins going where Michigan State and Penn State and Michigan and Ohio State all got to play one another. And if we want to get a little crazy, I don't think 2 losses eliminates you from the West. I don't. Now, that's that math means you win out if you're Nebraska. But eventually you got to get one of these. Ohio State still has to come to Lincoln. Kind of plant your flag with a signature over Michigan and a night game. Because guess what? 1 night game's great. 2 night games are better. You take care of business tomorrow night. Maybe you're on the short list for a 3rd night game with Ohio State coming to town. Because you are a marquee brand already. Maybe you become one of those marquee teams. Husker Hall of Famer Eric Warfield. His thoughts on Nebraska-Michigan next.
And we're back
Fellas, you think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Back into it, previewing Nebraska-Michigan and NFL action this weekend. Husker Hall of Famer, 10-year NFL vet Eric Warfield back with us. Patrol that secondary for the Black Shirts at @Warfield44 on Twitter. Eric, you guys didn't get a chance at Michigan in '97, man. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I was so hoping that we'd have that opportunity. That the one matchup that they couldn't make happen. Even though I feel like we were still the walk-away winners of that championship that year, and you take your hat off to Michigan for having the season that they had, and Charles Woodson for the phenomenal career that he had and winning the Heisman. But just knowing how they played against a Ryan Lee team they barely pulled off, and we go out and we spank the crap out of Peyton Manning and his crew. So we thought that we were the clear-cut champions that year. But hey, it is what it is. I get to watch my squad play Michigan tomorrow in hopes of getting the victory.
Frost with CBS post-game does his stump speech. You guys sent out T.O. the right way. Did you know Scott had that in his back pocket, or do you think he just kind of went off the cuff with that? Give us at least a share.
Probably off the cuff. Scott's a great guy, and it's sad that we're sitting in this position of I read social media and I hate the comments of people, but it is what it is. Whether it's social media or not, you're going to hear people say, negative things. This is one of those games that could be real important to get a lot of that negative dialogue about him, out of the way, and he can continue on with the career that he was given to fulfill here in Nebraska. I love what he's put together with the defense. I mean, I don't know how anybody could not be happy with what they're seeing with our defense. They're playing really, really good ball. And Adrian is coming to himself, and he's made a hell of a last year for himself with the plays that he's making. He's not so hesitant. He's not taking the big losses. He's not trying to force too much. We keep things rolling the way we are. I think we can actually pull off some victories that I don't think anybody foresaw at the beginning of the season.
Few minutes, Eric Warfield with us, Husker Hall of Famer, 10-year NFL vet. Warfield, I'm interested. You guys weren't really phased in big games because you were the big game on somebody else's schedule. Nebraska's got that opportunity to get that signature, get over the hump win. Do you feel better, kind of the mentality and mindset? I don't think Nebraska is going to go into this with a deer in the headlights. I think they're a confident football team.
We have a high-powered offense in Kansas City, and I think at times, the fans get so caught up into, okay, we have enough on offense with Patrick Mahomes alone to where if we're down, we're confident that we're going to come back and win this game. And I think we're at a point now to where the defense has played so well to where if we can keep up, put a field goal up here, a touchdown here, our defense will play well enough to get us a victory. Although we went into Michigan State And, what did the total offense that they had in the second half was 5 yards.
It was brutal.
You would think that's a clear walk-away victory, and it wasn't. Some mistakes were made, some plays weren't finished, an unfortunate interception that capped it off. But the Spartans is what got their victory. But hell, I think that the way Michigan is playing this year, and Michigan they've been in the same boat that we've been in. Michigan hasn't done anything since. Mm-hmm. They brought Harbaugh in to put them back into the thick of things. To be honest, Chris, I don't remember Michigan being all that great even before, having to share the title with us. They've had some great players. They've had some memorable plays throughout season. But Michigan hasn't really represented the way that 1 year has been. I don't recall anything that Michigan has done throughout history. So it's not like they're all this great of a program. They've been a great basketball program for forever, but that's been the one thing that they could kind of hang their hat on. So at this point in time, they're playing really good ball. It'll be a really good, win, a big win for us. Hell, it's a big win for Harbaugh also. So don't come in with some, thinking that you're on a roll now, that you're, better than what you think you are, and just go out and play good ball the way you have been. Outside of what we did with Illinois, I think that the team is really putting the pieces together. I think the coaching staff is putting things together. And outside of a few kicks, we could have a really good season right now.
Eric Warfield's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Follow him on Twitter at EA Warfield 44. Warfield's doing the podcast thing, the video stream thing as well. We'll get to in a minute. Eric, I want to get your take on Adrian. You touched on him a little bit earlier, but you're right about special teams. You're right about the defense being a known commodity. Is Adrian the difference? We know how fast and athletic the Michigan defense is, but they've not seen anybody like Adrian. They recognize that. Do you think Adrian can just kind of cut loose and light up tomorrow?
He is definitely our difference maker. Coming into the season, I don't think anybody expected him to play as well as he's played because of the history. You go off of what you know, and he's made some throws that he maybe shouldn't have thrown. He has taken some big losses, sacks that he shouldn't take. Yes, he's a home run hitter when he gets that one opening to where he can run for 60, 70 yards. But has he played to where a defense is going to say, okay, we have to game plan for this guy because he's throwing the ball that well? Right now, he is. Before, that wasn't Adrian Martinez. He's one that you can just say, okay, I'm going to put my corners in man-to-man. We'll put a spy on you, and we'll deal with it. We don't have the confidence that you can go and pick our defense apart. And right now, Adrian's making some phenomenal passes. Toure is playing unbelievable. I'm a really big fan of him and the receiver core of what they're doing. It's just a matter of us finishing games as what's kind of hurt us.
That game finish is the opportunity as well. You go win a close game against a ranked team versus letting it slip through your fingers. You got the home crowd behind you. Warfield, what's the craziest night environment you were a part of, either pro or college?
The craziest, I would have to go with our Indianapolis game. You go into a team, we got a first round bye going, and we could have easily represented in the Super Bowl that year, and we didn't. Not either one of the teams punted. So it's just a matter of showing how good our offense was compared to how good Peyton Manning's offense was. To where there was not one single punt the entire game, and the passing yardage from both teams was just out the roof. Hell, I was a part of that defense, so I was out there giving up yardage myself. But it was just crazy to see that. No matter what was done, what game plans were thrown out there, what defenses were called, neither defense was able to stop the offense. Points were put up every time the offense touched it.
What do you foresee? Let's go to the NFL. Big game against Buffalo. Is Kansas City right, or has it just been a matter of turnovers? What's your diagnosis of KC?
Our offense is what it is. Everybody, from opposing teams to spectators, they all know that we can put up points with anybody. And I think Patrick came out with a comment the week before at having a piece of humble pie, because the offense can get at times overconfident, thinking that, okay, just because we're down a few points, we are who we are. We're going to make the comeback and win the game at the end. And we ended up losing the game to San Diego, and the previous game before that, to where we were sitting at 1-2. And so having to come back and put on full display who we are as an offensive unit with the best quarterback in the NFL leading you down the field, it gives that confidence back to the fans and to the team that, okay, we can still be the favorite going into the Super Bowl this year. But the way our defense is playing is like, we haven't really made any stops. And so it's right now we have to give up field goals instead of giving up touchdowns. Now, if we can give up a field goal or two here or there, it gives us a better chance of winning the games. But right now, we really can't stop anybody. We don't have any speed in our front seven. I don't think that our experiment with Chris Jones playing defensive end has been the calling card that we thought it would be. I hate seeing Tyrann Mathieu man-to-man coverage on receivers, because that's not what he does. He's a safety. He's a thief back there when you trying to throw the ball for the make plays in the secondary. So, but it is what it is, and so Spags has got to make corrections, and we got to try to patch up these leaks. And right now, the hell, they're not even leaks. We gave up 380-some yards to Jalen Hurts.
You're not happy.
Yeah, so that doesn't happen. And you can't be confident going into any other game thinking that, your defense is where it needs to be. No, your offense is where it needs to be. You can count on them to put the points up, but you have to figure out something to do with this defense. And right now we've gone out and added Josh Gordon, thinking that that's going to help us. I'm not saying it's not, but it doesn't do anything for the defense. And but again, I don't even know what's out there, free agency or somebody who's sitting at home that can come in and help us on the defensive side of the ball. But I still feel confident that with the way that our offense plays, we can go out and outscore most teams.
Eric Warfield, Husker standout Hall of Famer, with us. Eric, real quick, give me a prediction for Nebraska Saturday.
I'm going to go 21-18. Nebraska wins.
21-18, says number 44, Warfield. Eric, we'll do this again. Thanks for a few minutes, bud.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate it.
Good to hear from Husker Hall of Famer, 10-year vet with the Chiefs, Eric Warfield, Hail Varsity Radio. We're down here in the Railyard as we are back at the Single Barrel for Home Football Fridays for Purdue. Michigan has commandeered the entire spot, and I just don't look good in yellow. End of discussion. It is camo versus khakis. Elijah's wearing his camo. I've got the Hunter orange on. We're going with Team Hunter, Team Frost. We'll have our predictions. Friday forecast is coming up with the infamous Clauseborne in 1 hour. Jay Moore, Black Shirt Husker NFLer, a Black Shirt Friday commences here shortly. And the Pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports' Bill Doleman from Fairbury. We have not had a chance for Bill to make a prediction from Fairbury ever. This is going to be big. Quick reminder about buckling up. 70% of people in by up to 60%. Your best defense in any crash, buckling up. A message brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. We continue on from the Railyard with Hail Varsity.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it, Hail Varsity Radio. Big game week, Michigan, Nebraska. This guy actually beat Michigan. It was at the Alamo Bowl. We say hi to Blackshirt Husker NFLer Jay Moore and co-host of Big Red Wrap-Up. Jay Bird, the old Maize and Blue in town. How are you?
I'm doing well, Schmidt. Yeah, I get the Maize and Blue, one of the best fight songs in, I think, in college football, other than obviously Hail Nebraska, and but Hail Varsity, whatever what stall, you know what I'm getting to.
I know what you meant.
You know what you meant. But yeah, no, it's just funny how the narrative kind of switches when you play well and you beat a team like you did in Northwestern, and you handled your business, and if they would have struggled in that one and and not played as well, and was a fourth quarter game, I think the narrative would be kind of similar to what Oklahoma was a few weeks ago, where people were like, not giving Nebraska much of a chance. Obviously that spread was much bigger than what we're dealing with, in playing Michigan, but it's going to be a good one. I mean, arguably you could say that Nebraska is probably one of the best teams that Michigan's played so far this season, and they've played. They played Wisconsin last week, and obviously Wisconsin's down a little bit this year. So good test, national TV, 6:30 ABC. So. This is a chance to kind of, we've seen Nebraska kind of pretty much get better in some aspects every week, since Illinois. Obviously, the special teams has had their lumps and their issues, but you can see them progressing in certain spots. So we'll just see if they can keep on progressing, getting better, and see what happens when, Michigan comes to town, tomorrow night.
Jay, are you worried about the Michigan defense against Nebraska, or do you think they'll have an answer? Defensive end play well, standing up on the edge. Ojabo and Hutchinson are special dudes.
Yeah, it does concern me, especially if you're going to, I would think Prohaska and Noelia will be on that left side, and those are young players, and, Hutchinson's going to be a first-round draft pick probably, and so that's definitely a concern. That's always going to be a concern. Great D linemen can take over games as we've seen before, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of game plan they're going to have for them. Are they going to run some option right at them to kind of try to neutralize them? Are they going to chip them with Vokalek or Allen or whatever it may be? Are they going to keep more guys in protection to help them out? I would think so. Let Rahmir Johnson or Yant, put a helmet right in his ribs, and that will kind of slow him down a little bit and chipping on him. So it'll be kind of fun to see how they try to neutralize their attack. And this is going to be a heck of a defense. Oklahoma was a really good defense. This one's going to be really good as well. So it's going to be interesting to see the kind of the cat and mouse game there with Frost. And I think he'll have some interesting play calls to help definitely slow those two down.
Jay Moore's with us, co-host Big Red Wrap-Up, Hail Varsity Radio. Jay, what does this game signify for you? Is it like do or die? Nebraska's finally got to get it done against a top 10. Nebraska's finally got to get it done in the one-score game. Or are you more measured with whatever happens Saturday night?
Well, I think, Nebraska definitely win this football game. I don't think it's do or die. I think when you look at the schedule earlier in the year, you looked at Michigan, you knew this was going to be a tough one. We knew Michigan, Michigan's kind of always been an interesting team. They probably have underachieved more than any, Big Ten team, since Harbaugh's been there. And because, the type of talent they've got in Ann Arbor. So you look at this one, you're like, it probably is, chalk that one up in the L column. Obviously the Illinois and Michigan State game were two games I thought, Nebraska obviously should have won. So you're just trying to, find wins, at this time of year. And you look at the point spread, you see it's, less than a touchdown, a one possession type game, which I think that's what it will come down to. And, it's one thing is there's a lot that can be done, when's the last time Nebraska had beat a top 10 team? I don't think Scott Frost has beaten a Big Ten opponent back-to-back weeks yet. So that's another telling sign. So, yeah, it's going to be a big one. I think if they would lose, it was a close game. I don't think people would be, totally, up in arms and the world's coming to an end. I think if it's a good, close, competitive game, Nebraska plays well and Michigan plays well, hey, it's going to happen sometimes. You're playing a top 10 team, it's Michigan. But, they can definitely win it, but I don't think it's the end of the world if you don't get this done. You just settle back up and get ready to go on the road next week to Minnesota.
Jay Moore's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Jay, the difference Saturday night for a Nebraska win is what? Is it defense? Is it special teams? Is it Adrian? What's your key?
Well, I think when it comes down to these, which is going to be a close, tight ball game, special teams matter. And I think if for Nebraska to be able to win this game, I think you can't have the special teams miscues as we've had. It's easy to not to worry about your special teams when you're winning, 42-7, and everything's kind of clicking, and you don't have to punt very much, and you're just kind of doing a bunch of kickoffs because you're scoring and you're kicking through the end zone. But when it gets close, when you got when hitting yard and flipping the field with punts and getting field goals and getting points is going to be a premium. So without a doubt, I think the defense we already know is going to play really well. I think the offense will do some good things. It's just can Colt hit those field goals, hit those 30, 40-yard field goals when points are needed, and can Prista flip the field, or pin them deep to get some more of that hitting yardage, and can the field goal team protect, and can you get if you're supposed to punt it to the right side of the field, punt it to the right side of the field. So I think without a doubt the special teams are going to be the key turning point in this one if Nebraska wants to win.
Give me a score prediction, Jay, before we say goodbye, bud.
Yeah, I did 24-20 Nebraska. I think I was one of the select few that picked Nebraska. I know I'm waiting for Nebraska to finally validate it, after a good win. We've been burned many times before, and that was in the back of my mind, but I think they might have found something offensively with a little line switch and getting Yant going. I think he fits in well with the Big Ten, getting some tough yardages and being able to fall forward. So I'm going to take him 24-20. I think Michigan gets the ball late to try to win this thing. They got to go get a touchdown, but Nebraska, the defense kind of holds up strong, and Nebraska goes 4-3, and Michigan gets their first loss of the season.
Jay Moore, and I wouldn't have it any other way, I'd expect, with the defense saving the day, closing it out. That's just kind of how you like to do it, isn't it?
So totally, yep. Yeah, leave it in those. Yeah, you always want to have a chance to win the football game. Either I've done it a few times. There's no better feeling going out there and pinning your ears back and getting after the quarterback and shutting that game down and winning it. So I expect the defense to do the same.
Jay Moore with us. Good to spend time with Black Shirt Husker NFLer Jay Moore, and Big Red Wrap-Ups where you watch him. Jay, we'll see you this weekend. Thanks for the time.
Yep, you got it, Smitty.
Gotta love Jay Moore, number 44. Back-to-back 44s there. Jay and Warfield both feeling good for Nebraska. Just ran into Tex, big-time hoops fan, big-time football fan. And we've got a number of folks that have made the trip up to the Single Barrel and the Graduate that have found their way, bless their heart, down to the Railyard. That's where we're at today in the Railyard. Michigan has taken over the Single Barrel and Graduate. All good. We just moved. We audibled at the line of scrimmage. So we're down here in the Railyard till 6. You're invited out. Bill Doleman's on the way. And we'll try and give away my wife's Halloween tree on the radio next. It's Hail Varsity presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour down in the Railyard and audible back at the Single Barrel for Purdue. We are in Minnesota next week at the Graduate for a road show Friday and Saturday. And, of course, Real Red Reaction happens tomorrow for sure, post Nebraska-Michigan, but a road show. And our friends at Ferris Financial Group and Arrow Brokerage powering the road show. Elijah Herbal back at our ESPN Lincoln studios, rocking camo. I've got the Hunter Orange on, Team Camo versus Team Khaki, and Frost & Company going to get it done. A lot of Nebraska fans think. So Jay Bird says Nebraska by a field goal. Warfield says Nebraska by a field goal. Tex says Nebraska by a field goal. Actually, Tex says Nebraska by two touchdowns. Elijah, any part of your being that thinks this thing can be a blowout tomorrow? I think if they rattle McNamara, Bud, get a dirty pick six or scoop and score. You know, Harbaugh's and Michigan, to their credit, have played a lot of clean football. They've had to because they're really good. They're talented. They're like elite on defense, but they're not uber scary. I say that and watch them put up half 100 tomorrow, but they're not uber scary, you know, at quarterback like they have been in past years. So, you know, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of uncertainty with what exactly is going to happen tomorrow night.
And I know I said blowout earlier this week, but that was like joking. I see these as...
That was you and vodka.
Yeah. These are two defenses that I see doing enough to keep their offenses in the game no matter what. I really see this game being close. I don't see Nebraska's defense faltering to a point where Michigan can blow out Nebraska, and I don't see Michigan's defense faltering so bad that they allow Nebraska to run away with this one. I don't see either way. I think these defenses are the strength of both of these teams, and I think realistically they should be able to keep their offenses in the game.
You know, should be all right. We are winding down this first hour in about 10 minutes. Bill Doleman with us from Fairbury. He'll be with us tomorrow, part of the tailgate show with Gary Michaels tailgate, just in front of Nebraska-Michigan 3-5. So a flex scheduled weekend edition tomorrow. So I know a lot of different times and venues throwing at you, but we've had to flex a bit, and you got to love night games. It's pretty big time. Can you put a picture of the Halloween tree up? Can you do that? Okay, there it is. That is split screening us. That is my wife's Halloween tree. I don't know how long she's had it, but it's been with us a while. It is ugly. It's brutal. It's in full display. And I think when we give away Ohio State tickets,
you're gonna give away the tree too?
I'm gonna give the tree. I'm going to give the tree away with.
Are you going to tell her before you do that?
No, I'm just going to. She's going to. Well, she'll think she'll take it to the basement, and it'll get put away, and then, poof, it'll disappear one day, for good.
Just like it disappeared from the live stream. See, everyone who's not listening, who's not watching along on ESPN Lincoln, the Facebook page, is just missing out. They're missing out.
Well, they'll hit the rewind of it, but no, we're gonna. I'm either going to get stabbed in the neck tonight by her, or we will keep moving forward with this Halloween tree.
I've never even heard of a Halloween tree before.
They're awful.
Like
they are awful.
It's not Christmas,
right? And she's got like 3 Christmas trees. And I love Easter, but she's got an Easter tree. She's got 47 like door hangings she puts on our front door. But the wind blows and just beats the hell out of our front door. So we are going to get rid of that damn Halloween tree. We're going to give it away with the Ohio State tickets here in November. Hour 2 on the way with Hail Varsity.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Back into it, it's Hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Here in the Railyard, bit of an audible as we're in the single barrel every home football Friday inside the Graduate. That has been taken over by Michigan. So we are out in the fresh air. A lot of Husker fans are here having a cold one, listening to a few tunes. On the Cube, you have Atlanta and Milwaukee going, which is awesome. A lot of Nebraska fans milling around, and we've had plenty of predictions with a lot of good vibes for Nebraska. There's the single barrel location down here. Can get some awesome seafood. Go see Heath and the crew. And yes, the tap is open ahead of Nebraska and Michigan. The forecast on the way. He is back in Fairbury. He is the pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports. He's seen so many of these magic night game moments. We say hi to Bill Doleman with us. Bill Doleman will be part of the Gary Michaels tailgate tomorrow on location at a hidden spot on campus. At Bill Doleman on Twitter is where you find him. Billy D, how is the Hall of Fame ceremony going on down in Fairbury, brother?
You know, it's pretty cool. My old basketball coach, Chuck Moore, that many people who are probably driving around Lincoln and all greater parts of the wonderful state of Nebraska would remember Coach Moore and his squeaky voice and smaller stature, but one of the great basketball coaches that Nebraska has ever had. And his 71 team was honored with an induction into the Nebraska High School Hall of Fame, and this being the 50th anniversary. the court at Fairbury High has been named for him. And as somebody that he once called the best fouler with less than 2 minutes to go in a game, I figured I owed it to him to be here.
Well, that is good, and it takes brilliance to recognize talent like one William Doleman. Son, get in there and foul. You haven't heard of this Lambeer. You haven't heard of this Lambeer guy yet, but you're going to make him proud. Now go get it.
Yep,
So
you got 5. You got 5, and don't come back with them.
5 and don't come back. I'm interested in your feel for tomorrow night. And we started off the show, Elijah and I were talking about a couple of X factors. We know about Nebraska's offensive line and their youth against the talent and experience of that Michigan front seven. We know about the quarterback X factor that Adrian is. Dear God, we know about special teams and what type of X factor that has been against Nebraska, or a deterrent for Nebraska. But two things: you have crowd and atmosphere. You have that Sea of Red, the Husker Army, that is very real. You also have coaching matchup, Bill, and I want your take first on the coaching matchup. Do you think there's a little more comfort in a big game moment now for Coach Frost after the ups and downs of this season? Is that a concern for you, for lack of a better way to say it, Nebraska getting out coached tomorrow night, if everything else is on equal footing?
No, because I think for the last 3 or 4 years, you either replace national critique, you just put a blank, and you either put Scott Frost's name there or Jim Harbaugh's name there. And the same criticisms have been made of Jim Harbaugh that have been made of Scott Frost, and vice versa for the last 3 or 4 years. Yet the two guys still got their gig, still very high profile, and are always going to be under a lot of scrutiny. And this goes back to something I think we talk about every week, and certainly every year, about relevancy and who's prominent and who's not prominent and all of that. Look, if Jim Harbaugh and Scott Frost were not in the conversation weekly about hot seats and must-win games and whatnot, then Nebraska-Michigan would not be relevant, but they are. They have both been in the same boat for the last 3 or 4 years together. And I think both of their teams are, coming around to what I have been hoping that they could implement it at some point. Now, do I have 100% belief that Scott arrived with the win last week against Northwestern? Not necessarily, but I've always believed that, this is a team that's trending in the right direction. Do I think that Jim Harbaugh has finally arrived with Michigan? Probably less so than I believe with Scott, to be honest with you. But they're having a great year. There's no question about it. I think this is a much bigger test for Michigan tomorrow than it is for Nebraska, because the conversation right now is that, well, he's got them where they want him. Michigan's playing great. This is a top 10 team, so this is finally what Jim Harbaugh's wanted. Well, you know what? This is probably going to be the most chaotic atmosphere they're going to have played in, other than Ohio State game, during his entire tenure, largely due to what happened last week with and the atmosphere and everything. And I think you're going to see that replicated pretty well tomorrow night. And I think that Michigan's going to have a bit of a test.
Bill Doleman's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Bill, obviously more pressure on the top 10 undefeated team coming into a raucous home environment. But is there pressure on the Huskers to be coming out and playing in front of 90,000 fans who actually have expectations for this team now? For the past couple of years, it's been, well, good teams coming to Lincoln. Let's hope the Huskers play well. Now it's almost an expectation. Do you think that's going to put pressure on the Huskers?
Well, here's one thing, in the litany of things that Schmidt alluded to a moment ago with, crowd and players and all that kind of. The one thing that I think Nebraska got the most out of in their game against Northwestern last week was belief. And that, you go back to to our show last week, I said Nebraska is 2 plays and 1 quarter of belief away from being unbeaten. I don't think Nebraska went down to the Oklahoma game and believed that, they were going to go toe-to-toe with Oklahoma, and they dug themselves a 15-minute hole, and had they not made some mistakes, they could have easily won that game in Norman. And I think what they got out of last week's game with Northwestern is, oh my God, we can, when we put it together, we're pretty tough. We're pretty good. And the depth, whatever's going on with the offensive line, I think Nebraska has to believe that now we have players who can play. and we've got depth, and we've got depth we can believe in. So all of those kinds of things, I think belief is the biggest thing they got out of the Northwestern game. And they take that with them into the game on tomorrow night, and I think that gives them a big advantage mentally.
Bill Doleman's with us, Hail Varsity Radio, Roadshow Friday. We're in the Railyard, back at the Graduate for Purdue Week. We have been displaced by Captain Khaki. It's okay. Gorgeous night. A lot of Nebraska fans out and about. We're here in the Railyard till 6. Elijah Herbal, Chris Schmidt, and Bill Doleman, the pride of Fairbury, from Fairbury, as we discussed Nebraska-Michigan. Bill, you mentioned, and I think you're right on, right? I mean, Michigan's the one coming in here with the little number. Michigan's coming in here undefeated. The hopes are up with this team. Hey, this is the year, bro. This is the year you get Ohio State. This is the year you get to a conference title game. Pumping the brakes on that just because of what's left. You've got some vicious teams in front of you. If you're Michigan, that is Nebraska, that is Sparty, that is Ohio State. I want to flip it around to Nebraska here, and you've been on point with last week saying, look, Nebraska will put it all together. Most complete performance. You nailed it with the Northwestern game. You felt good about Michigan State. And
don't punt until the third quarter.
Yes, he said, hey, you want to fix special teams, don't kick it. But you also were right on with that belief. I mean, Nebraska saw it play out with how they performed against Oklahoma. When we get into some of the plays that need to happen, do you worry about Adrian, or are you excited for Adrian? Because I'm in the camp right now that I watched a little of the Rutgers game. I saw what Noah did, and I'm thinking Adrian could go off tomorrow night. But I think more so than the could part, I think Adrian's a guy that is ready to take out frustrations through a career and just play free and play dynamic and be such a difference maker. He's a guy that guys just don't want to face or contain if you're a D coordinator. I think he needs to be big tomorrow night, but I think he's comfortable with that tomorrow night. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think that's a great word. I think that there's probably a comfort factor for Adrian that wasn't there a couple of years ago, and certainly with that disastrous game at Michigan where you threw an interception that I still maintain completely turned that game into a debacle when it didn't necessarily need to be. But I think the thing that Scott has done, which obviously he listens to our show, which is terrific. when we were at the single barrel, I said, look, there has to be Appendix A that is all option plays. And I think with Nebraska implementing, not going full bore into the option, but implementing it much more that we all recognize it, we see it, and we love it, that probably has caused more headaches in Michigan's camp this week than anything that they prepared for this year. Because they are looking at they're watching those option plays. And Adrian looks comfortable running it. It does not look like a natural offense to him as it did with Turner and Tommy and Eric and those guys, but he looks comfortable in running the option when it is called. And Nebraska doesn't go to it as its base offense, but it goes to it enough that I'll guarantee you that 25% or more of Michigan's practices this week have been trying to figure out when Nebraska is going to run 25% of their option plays. They did not want to have to prepare for that. And because of that, and while everybody's focusing on the option and the run games this week for both teams, I'm looking at Omar Manning. I'm looking at Oliver Martin if he gets in there. I'm looking at Samari Toure. I think Nebraska's receivers and Vokalek. I think Nebraska's receivers have an opportunity, much like Gerald Armstrong in the '94 Colorado game when Bill McCartney said we used this trick play by going to the tight end that they weren't prepared for. I think Nebraska's passing game will be much better tomorrow and more open because Michigan has to be concerned with the option now. And I think because Adrian is comfortable in running that as well as throwing, provided he doesn't miss a receiver like he did against Michigan State, the receiving corps could have a big game tomorrow. And you got 250 yards passing, 250 yards rushing, and you got Nebraska winning.
A few more minutes here with Bill Doleman, Hail Varsity Radio. Bill, offense or defense, who do you think's more important in this game plan for the Huskers tomorrow? Is it more important to score points in this Michigan defense, or is it more important to be able to shut down the Michigan offense? Obviously, both are important, but where do you think the real MVP play has to be taking place?
To me, it has to be the offense taking care of the football like it did against the Northwestern, not making mistakes and putting points on the board when it can. Because I think Nebraska's defense, I think that is and this is not easy for me to say, I think that's a black shirt defense. I think those guys are playing with confidence. I think Bill Doleman is arguably the best defensive player in the Big Ten. I think Adrian Martinez is the best quarterback in the Big Ten right now. But the way that defense is playing with confidence, I think it might be tough for Michigan to score points. They might get long drives and that end up with points, but I don't think they're going to have any type of scoring explosion. But Nebraska offensively has to play with confidence, belief in its offensive line, and not make mistakes. And if they don't make mistakes just like they did last week, they'll win.
Bill, want to get your take on the atmosphere with Nebraska, and really a long time coming. We can go back to 0-1 Oklahoma with the statement ability against a high-profile team, a brand team, a ranked team. You can go back to the Miami atmosphere in 14 where blood was in the water and everyone was a piranha. And even the Oregon kind of set up appetizer for a really good run until it ended in overtime in Madtown during the Riley era. You've seen this, you've covered it, you've been there for years, you've been there for Husker Vision, you've been there for when they brought the lights in to when they purchased the lights. What can tomorrow night do with that extra juice? What can it be like? And I'll be straight with you. I mean, you've been waiting 20 years as a Nebraska fan for this moment. There's fear that Nebraska won't deliver, but I don't think there's fear that they're going to be embarrassed, and that's been a long time.
The standard bearing game for night games at Memorial Stadium is the 92 Halloween night game against Colorado, and Nebraska won that one 52-7. That was the Coy Detmer game when they, pantsed him and pulled his shirt over his helmet, and you had Jason and Michael Myers partying and drinking out of the Boda bag together.
Yes.
Edward Scissorhands is in the background. I mean, that's the penultimate night game at Memorial Stadium. The show they put on last week, I'm still curious how they pulled off rehearsals for that, to turn the whole thing red and do the Thunderstruck, and nobody really knew it was going to come until it hit. I think the potential is there for a great atmosphere, but Nebraska's got to have a start like it did against Northwestern, like it did against Colorado 30 years ago or 25 years ago. It has to start well. It has to get out early. It has to get an early lead and get momentum for that to build, because if Michigan goes on a 14-play, 75-yard drive and goes up 7-0, this is going to be an uphill climb for, a crowd that's going to be pretty juiced all day, right? So It's important. I think Nebraska, if they win the toss, I think Nebraska takes the football. Let's go. Let's get some points on the board and take advantage of the crowd and really make Michigan feel it. But it was spectacular. There's no question the show that they put on, and whoever pulled that off and put it together, they really need to be proud, because that was as good a show in college football as I've seen in a long time.
Bill Doleman, Pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports, going to be doing the weekend edition tomorrow, live from the Gary Michaels tailgate. We're 3 to 5. It'll be good to be back doing that together. Elijah will be down there as well. Bill, it is time to make your prediction. A lot of folks have chimed in with predictions, 3-point wins, 2 touchdown wins. A sea of blue has just entered into the Railyard with their Jumpman basketball T-shirts. Not football gear, mind you. What happens tomorrow night, 6:30, ABC National TV?
No, and let's not forget that I am the most prolific free throw shooter in the history of the Bob Devaney Sports Center. I'd just like to get that in there. So on that note of perfection, I think Nebraska plays a perfect game tomorrow. I think the receivers have a big game tomorrow. I think Adrian establishes himself, like I said, as the top quarterback in the Big Ten Conference. And I don't see why Nebraska can't repeat its performance last week against Northwestern. And last week I think I said 255-0. I don't know why they can't do that again, because I was pretty close in that prediction. And let's face it, they're going to be Roxannes all over the place putting out the red light tomorrow night, and I think Nebraska responds.
Score?
255.
255. The Pride of Fairbury. Bill, we'll see you at Nevada tomorrow.
I don't really care what Michigan scores. They're not going to win.
There we have it. There's your prediction. Bill, thank you, bud. Enjoy tonight.
All right, go Big Red, and I will see you with Nevada tomorrow afternoon.
He's in his 30s. but sounds like he was born with a stogie in one hand and a brew in the other.
Now, say my name.
It's Schmidt on Hail Varsity Radio.
I got the body of a taut, preteen Swedish boy.
A few minutes, Rahmir Johnson with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. Rahmir, what type of energy did Saturday night give you?
It was lovely. I mean, I enjoyed, seeing the crowd happy, seeing the whole state happy, and having a good time out there on that field. So it was great. I enjoyed it.
Take me back to your process, your growth, and then kind of the challenge Coach Held gave you going into this season. You've done a really nice job of emerging and being a big-time part of the offense.
Right, yeah. So, I got injured during the spring and stuff like that, so it kind of pushed me down on the bottom of the depth chart. And Coach Held pretty much said, look, we still giving you a chance, but I need to see this and that from you and prove to us that you could be, the guy for us. And I took that into consideration and just changed my mindset around and just worked hard every day and just kept pushing and kept working and just kept, growing myself as a player as well as a person to get myself to where I'm at right now today.
Tell me about the challenge and then some of the growth. It doesn't always feel good at the time to hear critiques, but you can obviously channel it a better way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for most people, they're probably, if it's in my position, they're probably like, dang, it's probably not going to work out for me or whatever. But I knew for myself that I needed to work on some things, and what Coach Held was telling me what I needed to do was kind of correct. So for me, it was just like, this is a challenge that I need to overcome and get myself over the hump. And, I embraced the challenge because it got me to, where I'm at right now. So if it wasn't no challenge, I'd probably, be where I was at before, like a month ago too. So.
A few minutes here, Rahmir Johnson's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. So let's talk Nebraska's option attack. Yeah. Fans here love watching option football, and you had a little bit of background in it coming from high school. Do you have a preference? Do you like being the pitch back, or do you like being the dive back?
It don't matter if I'm the pitch guy or the dive back. If I get the ball, I get the ball. If not, I'm a block for the guy that's getting the ball. So it really doesn't matter to me as long as it's working and people getting yards and stuff like that.
Is there a back you like to emulate or kind of compare yourself to? You've got amazing speed, but you have a lot of power. You had a really nice combo.
Right, yeah. I mean, in high school, growing up in high school, I was a big D'Anthony Thomas fan from Oregon. And, Coach Frost was coaching back in the day at Oregon. So I was a huge fan of him. But also, guys like Derrick Henry and, Barry Sanders and a lot of those guys, Dalvin Cook. And I kind of just... I was always told I was like a speed back, but to me, I was always just like I could do it all type stuff. I wanted to prove that, so I just kind of just worked on the little things to get me to the guys who run like Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara and all those guys, stuff like that. So I wanted to change my game up to show I could do both sides, just not just speed and stuff like that.
So 100 years ago, Barry Sanders went off at this stadium, and they still got beat pretty bad. So are you a YouTube connoisseur of Barry?
Yeah, I can say that.
It's fun to watch him. So tell me about the running back room, who you're close with, and how you guys challenge one another, but also support one another.
I'm close with everybody. I'm talking to almost everybody, so they all get the same love. But we watch each other at practice. We tell each other look, do this, do that. I might pull somebody on the side, look, I think you can do this and that, and they'll listen. And then same vice versa, they might tell me, look, do this and that, and I'll listen, and we just go from there. So, because that's the kind of relationship we got in the room. There's no malice between none of us. We all love each other. We all support one another, no matter who's out there or not. I just want to make sure everybody eating, everybody's flourishing, and stuff like that.
Tell me about the offensive line. Changes were made. You had Newellian at guard and Big Teddy at left tackle, and then Turner did a nice job at right tackle, and Sichterman, and then there's Cam. Could you kind of sense that based on what you ran behind in the week of practice, that the big guys up front were going to have a good day?
Yeah, all week I practiced for that game. They were just, driving piles and, making holes. And I felt confident, like, if they was going to do the same thing in the game. And as you saw, they was doing the exact same thing in the game. So they was working hard all week. So shout out to O-line. Without those guys, we wouldn't have the yardage we had in that game this past weekend.
Is there a moment in the season where your confidence flipped, or have you always been pretty confident?
I was always confident in our offense and O-line. I just knew at some point we was going to get it clicking, and it clicked for us this last weekend.
So how was the first day back at practice? Is the focus even more intense?
Oh, yeah, we was more focused, more dialed in, more just focused on the little things because, it's a big game this week. We're trying, do whatever you can to get this W.
How do you treat it? I mean, are you excited? Are you nervous? Are you focused? What's the emotion here? Obviously a few days out, but it's going to build. This place is going to be nuts.
I mean, you always got to be excited for a big game, so that's always there. But you also got to just be focused and it's just have confidence that we can do it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a team lined up in front of you, and you're only as good as yourself, so you got to just play what you can do. You got to play your best and do what you got to do and focus on the little things, and the rest will work itself out.
What have you seen from your roommate in the running back room, Yant, his emergence? You're smiling right now. Did you see that coming?
Yeah, he had a good week. He had a good couple weeks of practice, and I've been waiting for him to be on the field and show what he can do. He's a big guy, and he just runs hard, man. Like, nobody can stop him, nobody can tackle him. So I was just happy to see him do his thing out there, man. I'm just so happy for him.
As a guy that's been around this program quite a while, are you kind of the older voice that some of the younger backs listen to?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, ever since like last year when the young guys came in, there was this immediately just came straight to me. I just got that, I guess, that presence, you can say. I'm just laid back, chill, cool. I could easy to talk to, and I'm always giving up little lessons and little just little gems, just to make sure they flourish and with their career and stuff like that. Because I kind of seen it all, kind of been through it all so far in my career. So
is there a nickname for you they give you?
Yeah, they tend to call me Dollars because my Instagram name Rod Dollars, so everybody just call me Dollars. What's going on, Dollars? What's up, Dollars? Dollars may ask you a question, so I tend to look up to that name, so it ain't no problem.
So Rahmir Johnson's with us, or Dollars, as we'll call him now. And how'd you get the nickname? Give me the background.
Man, I've been having that nickname since I was younger. I always always had money on me, so I just made my Instagram name Rod Dollars. I never told people to call me that, but people just seem to call me that, and it just been a nickname for me since I was a little kid.
Well, it's better to have someone give you the nickname than assign yourself the nickname.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I'm a humble guy, so I don't like to be all that spotlight on me, but I didn't mind having that nickname, and I came to flourish with it, so I was excited.
Rahmir, tell me about Jersey, and there's a rich history of Jersey kids that have found their way to Lincoln just over the years and have really impacted the program. How did Nebraska get on your radar, and just what was that like for you to go from the East Coast to Lincoln?
Right. I mean, for me, so I grew up in New York. I'm from New York, and I mean, I'm not going to say that we don't have football there, but I know in Jersey they had a lot of competition, a lot of good schools that play around the country. So for me, going to Bergen Catholic and getting developed by a good coaching staff over there and playing some tough games, I feel kind of with the history they got at my high school, and Nebraska having this history itself, I kind of felt like this is like going to my high school but just in college and stuff like that. So I felt kind of comfortable coming to Nebraska. I knew I had a lot of history, a lot of great people coming in and out from here, even from Jersey, all over the place, and great backs. I wanted to be a part of that.
Who are some East Coast folks that you've connected with here, like either that are from there or kind of from your region?
Right. I know Jason Peters, Coach Peters now. He's from Jersey, so I'll be talking to him a lot. Trying to see. I don't know we got that many East Coast guys on the team right now.
Coach Brown.
Coach Brown is a guy, yes. Coach Brown's from New York, so he understands how it is growing up in that, that city and stuff like that. So, of course, him. Yeah, that's for the most part.
About it. So what is the rule for pizza? I mean, New York style pizza is kind of king, isn't it?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I try not to I mean, if it ain't New York City pizza, I'm not really a big fan of it. You know, some pizza time tastes kind of funny to me when I taste it out here, but, you know, it is what it is.
So what's on Rahmir Johnson's New York style pizza? What are you ordering?
If it's not just a regular cheese slice, I'll probably get like, pepperoni or probably like chicken or something like that. But it's always the classic cheese pizza for me, to be honest with you.
Why cheese is it versus the other topping options?
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. Like back home in New York, the way they make their cheese pizza, like it just tastes so good. It's like cheesy and stuff like that. So I enjoy that, like just that cheese, like the natural cheese on the pizza and how it's cooked and stuff like that. So I just enjoy that.
So yay or nay on pineapple? Yay or nay on cream cheese? Do you dice up any of it if you go exotic?
Pineapple, I'm not a big fan of, so I would not do that. Cream cheese sounds pretty good. So I mean, I won't mind trying that and stuff like that. But pineapple, yes, no for me. No.
Rahmir, good to spend time with you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
There's your Husker eye back, Rahmir Johnson. He's been running hard, been running fast. We'll see what can open up for him on Saturday night against Michigan. It was a good dose of Yant. Elijah Herbelback, Chris Schmidt, Hail Varsity Radio, and more predictions. Tim emails in. Timmy. He is saying Nebraska 29-20, and he's wondering if I've got a pair of Champions passes for someone he cares deeply about. No, I don't. We would take a donation. I would trade you a Halloween tree for a pair of Champions Club passes.
That's a good deal.
That's well fair.
I don't even know where you can buy a Halloween tree.
Iowa Russ chimes in and says, dude, your wife is going to stab you. And Mrs. Iowa Russ says, do not give my Halloween tree away. I will not, Mrs. Iowa Russ. We will love you. Brett checks in and says, I want 1,000% credit. And Brett emailed this Oklahoma week and said, look, dude, get the atmosphere fixed with music. Get the atmosphere going with the PA. And Nebraska did. They unveiled something really cool. It was organic. It hit perfect with the Thunderstruck. Nebraska's a different team. At least they were against Northwestern when it comes to 5 mental penalties, a 2 a.m. turnover. And that can't happen. It didn't against a team that's undermanned in Northwestern, Elijah. That's the question about Michigan. I think they're going to run at Hutchinson. I think Nebraska's going to run straight ahead at that Michigan defense. I think they'll be okay option-wise, and I think they'll be able to do their work intermediately and then hit a couple of shots. We'll get predictions next. Friday forecast on the way with Hail Varsity.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Working through a Friday road show. It's Hail Varsity presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Railyard, where we are at. We had to audible outside the Single Barrel. Single Barrel's got a spot down here for some crawfish and some cold ones. Get on down. We're here till 6. Back in the Single Barrel for Purdue. Michigan has commandeered that thing. We look bad in yellow. That's our story, and we're sticking to it. But great folks, Heath and company from the Single Barrel, love being there on Home Football Fridays. It is Nebraska. It is Michigan. Few Michigan fans bellying up. Few Husker fans hanging out. Gorgeous night. Playoff baseball is on the cube. And excited. Bill Doleman with me tomorrow, along with Elijah at the Gary Michaels tailgate secret probation spot. So that'll be money. Road show tomorrow, 3 to 5. And then let's see how it all hangs out. Under the Lights, National Network, and stage set for statement time. Should we get into the Friday forecast? Do we have him? All right. Claus, it is Michigan-Nebraska week. How are you?
Well, I'm doing okay. I understand it's probably a little bit of an inconvenience for you, the Michigan fans, have sort of taken over your spot, but it's good for them to be in Lincoln so they can see what the real 1997 National Championship trophy looks like instead of the participation ribbon they got. So I'm really excited for them.
Claus, should we get to it, bud? Should we fire up the Friday forecast?
Okay.
All right. Let's start off in Iowa City as our friends from Gate 25. I mean, that's a lot of Busch Light he's hauling. My God. It's getting with it, and it'll carry over to tomorrow. A second time for the Circus coming to town with game day in Iowa City and Penn State, and what a ball game it's going to be. The line is Iowa -1.5. Penn State rolls in. They look dynamic. Iowa has been just incredible with special teams and defense. Or Penn State. This needs to be a Penn State win if there's any smidgen of hope for Nebraska to make a run in the West with 2 losses already. Give me your score. What do you think here, Elijah?
With this one, I think I'm going to follow my heart, as you said. Nebraska needs the Iowa loss if they want to stay alive in the Big Ten West race. And even though that seems like a far cry, I do think this Penn State team is pretty battle tested. That game against Auburn's good experience. So I have Penn State getting the win in this one, 27-24 over the Hawkeyes.
So Elijah says Penn State the win. I think there's just too much Kinnick. I think there's too much Iowa defense. I think there's too much turnover potential. And we saw Clifford, the big red dog, turn the ball over a lot a year ago. He's better. He's really good. Give me Iowa to stay unbeaten. Give me Iowa and that Kinnick Magic. They are good. The only team that survived there has been Penn State. There's no Saquon. There's no McSorley. There's no Godwin. So, you know, we're going to go with Penn State falling to Iowa 24-17. Hawkeyes win. Hawkeyes cover. Claus, what do you think here? You going Penn State or you going Iowa?
Well, I've been telling people that I think Iowa probably is the best team in the Big Ten. And I'll be honest with you, that's about the 7th most disgusting thought I've ever had to ponder in all my years on this planet. Of course, the top 6 most disgusting thoughts all that I've had to ponder all involve former Penn State coaches. I mean, seriously, who likes peach ice cream? That just blows my mind. But anyhow, I agree with Schmidt. The final score, I disagree on. I think it'll be a little closer, but I think Iowa wins 24 and Penn State 21.
So 3-point win. Iowa stays unbeaten. Let's move on to Texas, Oklahoma, Red River rivalry. And line down to, I think, 3.5. I told you fellas 5.5. This thing's a shootout. This thing's triple overtime. This thing's a score fest. I think, forgive me, Lord, I think Texas gets it handled. Oklahoma's been living dangerously. They won in Manhattan. Not easy to do, 37-31 last week. They survived Nebraska, survived West Virginia. I don't think they survived Texas. I like Oklahoma's defense. They're better, but I think Texas gets to Rattler. And give me Texas a win, 38-35, another close one, but give me Texas and some Sark branding on OU Oklahoma Falls. Elijah.
I'm with you. I think Texas keeps it close. I think it's going to be another one of those games where Oklahoma survives, though. They get some offense late from Rattler. I'm going to go with OU to win, but Texas to cover as OU wins 30-27 over Texas tomorrow afternoon.
All right, Claus, what do you like here? Oklahoma, Texas, who wins? What's the number?
Well, obviously, this is a really unique rivalry game, one of the best rivalry games in college football, of course, held annually at the Texas State Fair. Have either of you ever been to the Texas State Fair? Have you gotten that opportunity?
No, I've wanted to go, but never made it happen. Never been a bye week.
Well, if you get an opportunity to go to the fair, even if not for the game, I encourage you to go. It's great. Right outside of the Cotton Bowl Stadium is the Hog Barn, and they have the world's largest pig there. Now, of course, I thought at first it was just a Wisconsin fan that they somehow had wrangled and put into a pen, but it's the world's largest pig. So, again, I encourage you guys to go. But this particular game would be a really good one for you to go to, as I think Texas wins. I agree with Christopher. It's going to be a great game, 42, and the Sooners 35.
Touchdown win for Bevo. Let's head to the SEC, the who can get enough smelling salt to respond bowl. Arkansas dismantled by Georgia. Ole Miss worked in the first quarter. 2 tickets for sale here. I'm good, brother. Thanks. Oh, man. I think Ole Miss wins this because it's at home. I really like Arkansas and their coach, but give me Ole Miss and Lane 35-28. Over the Hogs. Elijah, I know you like Ole Miss.
Yeah, both these teams looking for a get-right game. I really do trust this Ole Miss offense. They went up against a buzzsaw in Alabama, and I guess Arkansas went up against a buzzsaw in Georgia. But Ole Miss, I think their offense, I think Matt Corral is what wins them the day. Not sure if they cover, though. I've been calling a lot of close games so far this segment, and I'm going to go another close game here as Ole Miss gets a 38-35 win over Arkansas.
We are up against it. We still have our prediction, Nebraska and Michigan, the Friday forecast. Clauseborne is with us. Claus, can we persuade you to hang for a couple of minutes? Does that work with your schedule?
Oh, I suppose I can make that work, yeah.
He's not down with that. I don't want to rush this. Clauseborne is back with the forecast finale. Nebraska, Michigan, Elijah Herbal, Chris Schmidt. We're live in the Railyard. It is a mixture of red and blue. And it is almost Nebraska-Michigan time. The forecast, the prediction, Nebraska-Michigan next. Hail Varsity in the Railyard. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at hailvarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time here in the Railyard, weekend edition tomorrow. We are 3 to 5 at the Gary Michaels tailgate. Today in the Railyard, Michigan has rented the entire graduate and single barrel out, so we got audible. It's okay. Gotta love the single barrel location down here in the Railyard. Drinks are cold, crawfish is tasty, and we are ready for the final moment of the forecast. Nebraska, Michigan. The stage is set. The opportunity is there. It is going to be electric and incredible, and we've all lived a part of some big night games, and as a beautiful part of my childhood, just going with the family, the damn family, the fam family. And it was great. It could be a return to that tomorrow night, and you can just feel the pent-up energy and joy of Nebraska fans wanting it to happen. Elijah, jump off the diving board here, buddy. Get us started on the Nebraska and Michigan prediction here for the forecast.
Well, I hate to disappoint here, but that Michigan defense scares me. And I really do think that Northwestern, they had a bad game last week in addition to the fact that they're already not very good. I think the Husker offense struggles again. They struggle to lock down the Michigan pass rushers. And I think Michigan gets a win and a cover 20-14 over the Huskers in a low-scoring affair.
Low-scoring throwback, leather helmets, mouthpieces optional. Elijah, you know what? I think we're on the same radar. I think Nebraska's better. I think Nebraska's good. I think Nebraska's bowl-bound. I think Nebraska's confident. Michigan's got better dudes. I don't think Nebraska is going to make many mistakes, but Nebraska will make a mistake in the special teams. Nebraska will make a mistake in protection. There is your difference. There's your difference, and it is costly. Nebraska will have another opportunity this year to get a signature win. Nebraska will have an opportunity to show continued progress. It does not happen Saturday night. It's Michigan 27 and Nebraska 21. It's a special teams return, a short field, and there's your difference. Michigan just too good in the return side. I hope I'm wrong. Claus, what do you think here? You go in Nebraska, you go in Michigan. I say Michigan win and cover.
Well, first of all, I want to say I was pleasantly surprised to hear Elijah's voice when my phone rang earlier. I figured you'd have him in the clinic getting cured off the wild turkey after picking Ole Miss to beat Bama. And speaking of methadone clinics, I won Arkansas in that game. But back to Nebraska. Last week, obviously a very different team. Very different team showed up on the field last week, and a lot of people think, well, maybe it's because they finally played Teddy Prohaska or one of the various other adjustments. Adrian was a little more on the mark. Yant got some carries, but really the big difference was we finally convinced Scott to switch from Copenhagen to Redman. I don't know if you've noticed, but that boy has more chaw in his lip than Clue Haywood, so we had to get the right stuff. So, with that in mind, I think Nebraska wins this game. I think it's a close game, and I think Nebraska has to come back to do it, but they will. Final score, Nebraska 27 and Michigan 21.
Claus says, Adrian, the game-winning drive in the outright win, and the place will melt down in Jack Daniels in a great way. Claus, you be good. Enjoy the weekend of football. We'll talk next week. Thanks so much for your time today.
Okay.
There goes Claus. Big thanks to Elijah. We're at the Gary Michael Tailgate tomorrow, 3 to 5 weekend edition. Take care.